Yes guys, today let's look on the important principles you can use to defend in and around your box. This is so important, because the opponent has reached the point whereby any mistake you make while defending, it can result into him creating a chance and even score, so let's jump straight into it. Defending around or in the box, your main goal is to stop the opponent from reaching your goalkeeper, and also getting a clear angle and attempt long shots. So we have two main point threats we have to deal with, since around the box players are positioned near each other. In this case, expect to face a lot of one-on-one against the opponent's player. So let us focus on how to defend one-on-one and around the box. We shall make a video on how to press aggressive on the other parts of the pitch. Number 1 is defender positioning. In or around the box, basically you should avoid overcommitting, meaning you should avoid pushing your defender too close to the opponent's defender. Here it's easy to beat your defender using skill moves. So you have to position your defender 2 to 3 yards away from the opponent's defender. Here it's very hard for the opponent to pass your defender. You need to try extra hard tricks in order to be successful with this. That space you leave gives you room to react, and also helps you to time your tackling very well. For example here, the opponent is trying to beat my fullback on one-on-one challenge. I approach, but not fully committing to get close. That space I'm leaving helps me to maintain the defender's ground. The opponent attempts the skill move, but it wasn't enough and I win the ball back. Again, don't back off too much, don't leave a big space for the opponent. Here you're giving him too much space and freedom. You need to approach that ball holder and apply pressure, that 2 to 3 yards, unless you're cutting passing lanes. The second one, you need to imagine a line from your goalkeeper and the ball position, then position your defender in between these two. The purpose of this is to basically block the shooting angle. By any chance the opponent attempts to shoot, your defender will block it. For example, here I sprint to cut off this passing lane. After realizing it's no longer a threat, I leave it. Now my defender is too far away from the opponent's player. I approach to apply pressure, but always leaving net 2 to 3 yards. Here these simple dribbling are not enough to beat my defender, and I try to always position my defender in that line in my imagination. The opponent also was patient and he passes the ball to another player. I anticipate the change of speed. My opponent attempts to drive inside, so I try to close it up, but I mistakenly back off too much, so I again approach and still leaving the 2 to 3 yards, and also positioning the defender in the line. The opponent attempts to shoot, and as expected my defender blocks it. But we have a position where you don't have to position your defender in that line from the goalkeeper. When the ball is on the wing side, here there's no need to position your defender in that line, unless the opponent's player is facing towards your goal. But in a lot of situations he won't be able to do that. So here you need to position your defender in a center point of two things. One is the passing lane to any nearest player inside or at the edge of the box, and next is the way down towards the byline. The opponent will also try and dribble his way to the byline. You need to also stop this, but remember, first option available is the most dangerous one, and don't overcommit to any. For example here, the opponent passes to his winger, and I also switched to my fullback and approach. I always follow the basic principles as you see. I anticipate this pass and I immediately try to position in the passing lane, but not overcommitting to it, since the opponent can decide to just dribble towards the byline, which I think he's doing at the moment. I sprint and catch up to close that space. He turns and I also position into this passing lane. He turn away and I again approach. Was impatient at time and he couldn't keep the ball safe and I win it. But there are times where you need to overcommit and deal with the situation, but we shall look at that later in the video. The most important skill you need in order to defend around the box effectively is the ability to react. You need to be reactive. If you don't know how to use the jockey system and react very precisely, we talked about this in the first 2 videos of this series, and if you know how to use the jockey system very well, then let's continue. After knowing that, you need 2 skills, and one is on watching and observing what the opponent is doing with his player. What is going on exactly? Which moves is the opponent is trying to pull out? This gives you a proper understanding of the situation, and know how you can deal with it. Don't always look at your defender only, or focusing on the open passing lanes. Still you can notice these using your peripheral view. Then the next thing to improve your reactions is the way you hold the left stick analog. You have to be calm and concentrated, but also your hands shouldn't be stiff. Loosen up your fingers, hold the analog slightly and move your defender accordingly. This skill helps you to avoid overcommitting to one direction. Defending around the box or inside, you also need to use your defenders. Since this area is always packed with many players, you can use the second man by pressing R1 on your controller. This sends one of your AI players to press. You notice that by seeing a green icon on that defender, this helps a lot since most players dribble a lot in the final third. They always make turns trying to beat the defender you're controlling. So you need to use some of your nearest AI defenders, applying double pressure, making it hard for the opponent to use those spaces, and also defending multiple options, like marking the free players, and at the same time pressing the ball holder. Another important principle is the player switching. You cannot just use only one defender all over and cover every options. You have many players and make use of them. And here you can use two main tools, and the first is the L1 switch. Select the closest defender near the ball, used to apply constant pressure in every position the ball travels to. Then we have the right stick switch, selecting defenders in the situations where the L1 switch can't operate effectively, like selecting defenders away from the ball holder. This helps a lot when you need to overcommit with one defender to a certain direction. For example here, the opponent passes the ball to his winger, I select my fullback and wait for the opponent's move, but since he had this big space to drive to, I had to sprint and close it immediately, meaning I have to commit to that direction, but this was not a problem, because I was expecting him to read that. Now my fullback can't jockey back and close this passing lane. That's why I use the right stick switch tool and select this center back to get close to this free player. The opponent passes and I win the ball in that manner. So that's it on how to defend in and around the box. Our next topic will be on how to defend counter-attacks effectively. So that's it for today. Thanks for watching.